everybody, this is Brett with the Indie Comic Dispatch and broadcasting from a... Wait, what's going on? There's... What is it? A signal breaking through. What?
It's all right, Britt. I'll take it from here. What's going on, everybody? Tyr here. As you can tell, there is no Brett, but that is fine. That is fine. Silver Comics is going to take over for the night. Brett is actually spending time with his family. His son's birthday today, so if you get the opportunity, go hit him up on Instagram. Tell him to tell his son happy birthday. So tonight, just to let you know what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about dialogue. So we have three amazing guests with us tonight. I'm sure you'll know them all. I'm going to let them go ahead and come on and introduce themselves. The first individual is Scorpio, who is also part of the Indie Comics Dispatch crew. What's going on, Scorpio?
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much. Glad to have you back on, man.
Glad to be here as always.
Yep. So it's going to be a pretty awesome show tonight, I think. Because the next two individuals we got coming on, if everybody watched the last show, the show before last, is that same wacky group that everybody loves. So Catalyst is going to come on, and we're going to start off first with Aaron, aka Salt.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there.
What's going on, Aaron?
What's up?
Glad to have you back on the Dispatch, man.
Glad to be back.
So it's a little weird without Britt tonight, but of course we're gonna make it wild and try not to get kicked off of YouTube. And
again, it's your channel.
Oops.
And every other channel that we have, Britt, we're not gonna get kicked off. I promise.
No,
I'm not gonna promise. We're gonna be good. Maybe.
You can't promise that.
Maybe.
Never make a promise.
Not after last time.
Not after last time. But next up is Aaron's partner in crime, Matt, aka Peppa.
What up, Peppa?
Oh, yeah.
So we got the crew up here tonight. Oh, man. And like I said, we're talking dialogue.
Whew.
Literally.
So with dialogue, like I'm a stickler for dialogue myself. And I noticed in the indie comics world, like a lot of people, I think, either take dialogue too seriously or don't take it serious enough. And what I mean by too serious is like the monologues. Putting monologues where monologues really aren't needed, but they'll add them in, or they will put too much words into, these tiny panels that they don't even fit,
It was a long and dreary fortnight.
Exactly.
Over at the castle deep.
And it's set in 2020.
And it's set in 2020.
Exactly. Yeah, right. And this guy says he's an artist. I don't
listen. I know bad writing when I read it, though. What does it have to do with art?
Oh, there you go. Hey, I know you probably shake your head too, like, hey, can you draw this?
Yeah. See, me, I would be a terrible artist because I'd be like, no, that's garbage.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
I'm not drawing that. What's wrong with you?
How does this even work? So for y'all, like when it comes to the panels, like what do you think are some of the we're gonna start off like this, because what do you think some of the worst?
Oh god, he's already trying to get kicked off of YouTube.
All right.
Sorry, Brett. I couldn't. I'm a stickler for dialogue.
We just now hit the 5-minute mark.
Jeez.
YouTube's gonna be like, no, shut it down. They're hurting people's feelings. But what's the word? What would you say is the worst dialogue you think you've seen in a comic, if you can remember? And that's the crazy part. Some of the bad dialogue actually sticks in your brain.
I'll never forget the one that we talked about, the worst dialogue, where that one when I told you guys when a swan just came out of nowhere and turned into a human with no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what
Was there dialogue with that? Because that just sounds awesome.
It
Yeah,
just
now I want to know the dialogue.
Yeah.
the swan. No, there was no dialogue. The swan just flew. The villain stabbed it, and then a human appeared.
That's where you want dialogue. Like when you think about it, like you said, there was no dialogue, but that's where you want it.
Yeah.
But it
didn't
didn't come till after it when it's like he killed our master. I was like, so your master's a swan?
Did he Tarantino you? Did he Tarantino you? Is that what it was? You didn't know what was going on till the end, and then he flipped it
I was
on
just
you?
like, but I like Quentin
It was the
Tarantino, though.
swan the whole time.
But I like Quentin Tarantino though.
Right.
I like his dialogue, but I was just like, I just was not clear on that part. I was just like, okay, where does a swan come into place? I was researching a swan if it had meaning or something like that, or some type of mythical meaning, or
It's just Affleck, man.
yeah. That's
Okay,
not a swan. That's a duck.
So now are we talking?
It's close enough.
Yeah, are we talking dialogue or storytelling? Because that just sounds like bad storytelling as opposed to bad dialogue.
And zero dialogue.
Because there is a difference.
Was no dialogue whatsoever.
So that might have just been bad storytelling.
Pretty much.
Stabbing swans.
Possibly.
I'm sorry.
Now he's a human.
Possibly. But yeah,
I don't have anything that really sticks out as like an example of what I've seen that's bad dialogue, because you come across it a lot the more you read it. You read people's books and sometimes you're just like, there's no way these people said these words out loud before they wrote it in this book.
Exactly. And that's most of my dialogue that I've come across has been bad. It's been for that reason. Because you'll start reading it and then you got to backtrack. You're like, hold on. You read it again. It's like, why do I sound like a robot? Is this character a cyborg or are they a robot? Why are they talking like this? But then you realize that most individuals don't read their dialogue out loud. They read it in their head. And I know, like for me, because I've done dialogue coaching with some writers and stuff like that, and I tell them, you have to read it out loud. Like, get in character. Act like you're acting. Get in character. Your characters better than anybody, so you know how they're gonna react. You know what they're gonna do. You know what they're gonna say. Like, don't be robotic with it.
Right.
So I guess leading into that, with you, like, how often do you read yours out loud? Like, every script, or how do you go through the process? Do you read it during the script and you're like, okay, it sounds good, or do you even go and adjust it in the panels and stuff like that for like dialogue?
I read it. It's not even that I read it out loud. It's just I already live with the voices in my head, so like I can I already hear how they sound anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, typically I do when I read through it, I'm going to read it out loud, and then one of the reasons I like lettering my own stuff is that I can change it as I get the book completed, and maybe throw in a couple more quips, especially like Tilt. There's always those couple of panels where I didn't write any dialogue, and then I'm like, oh, okay, well, this would be a good moment for a joke, and throw that kind of stuff in there, as long as it doesn't mess up the actual storytelling. But yeah, I try to read it out loud. I don't know why people wouldn't.
Yeah.
I know it sounds stupid to people that aren't writers.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you're reading the dialogue out loud? But I mean, we're not telepathically telling you the story, so I think it probably helps to get a voice to it. But I think that's one of the things that a lot of people do miss out on, is you didn't give your character a voice. And I don't mean the sound of their voice. I mean, like, you didn't give them a voice as a character. And so then you just write cheesy dialogue, and it may not even have been cheesy, but you never established that character enough for us to understand what they meant by the way they said something.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Scorpio.
Oh, I was just gonna say it all goes back to elementary school. When I don't know if you all had those teachers. My mom was a teacher. It still is a teacher. Well, she's retired now, but I say she's still a teacher. And she would have me write something, and she would say, "Read it out loud." I'm like, I don't want to read it out loud.
Yeah.
It sounds good. She said, "Okay." Then I look at it, and I was like, "What was I writing?"
Yeah.
No
one sounds like this.
And then
Exactly.
that's why she would even tell me, "Read it out loud." I read it out loud, and you find your mistakes and then you can correct it, and then next thing you know, you got another idea. Oh, I could add this in here. That's all part of it. I even do that now with the reviews, the ones that I type up. I read them out loud, and I'm like, I know it sounds silly, but I don't care.
Dude, I need a behind the scenes video of Scorpio reading.
You read it out loud.
Yeah,
Because I know, like, but I already know your personality enough to know that you would be reading through it, just adding in your own comments and stuff as you're reading.
like, what?
You oughta see,
His tagline. His tagline. Who?
Yeah, exactly. What was I talking about? Good God.
Because that's all I was gonna ask you too, Scorpio. Since you're an avid, I mean, all of us read comics, but you read and review. So when you're reading these comics, and this is what I want the viewers to hear, are you reading these comics in your head, or are you reading them out loud, or are you reading them kind of low, or?
I'm reading them. I'm reading them in my head, and I'm actually like playing the character in my head to see, because that's how I grasp the information, from it. That's how I get stuff out of it. Like if I'm reading, for example, like I was reading Joker Wars. Whenever Joker came on the scene, his voice went into my head, and I was reading as Joker. Yep. So it made sense to me. I know that sounds crazy, y'all.
No, I was gonna say the exact same thing. You can tell when it's written well, is that the voices will change in your head because they're writing them in a different way.
Yeah.
And that draws you into the book even more, which is what you want.
Exactly. And that's another reason why I say read them out loud. Play as your characters. Because if you act as the characters you've written and you read it out loud and get in the character, then for everybody who's reading in their head, is automatically that character is going to jump out at them and they're going to feel it,
I told Aaron the one time I read a book, and I'm not going to say who or what it was, but I told him, I said,
it was mine, wasn't it?
No. I don't think I've had a chance to read yours yet.
Yeah, he hasn't sent us anything yet.
Yeah, he hasn't sent us anything yet. Anyway, but I told him, I said, all I heard was this writer's voice in my head the whole time I was reading this book. Every character sounded the same.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, I can't.
It's hard.
I can't not read any of these characters in any other voice but his. And it was. And
the crazy part,
what some of the best is when you know the creators behind stuff. And for us, I think it's the same one that Matt's talking about. But when a normal white guy is writing like Ebonics and like a thug gangster character, and I know the creator, dude, that crap cracks me up, man. It cracks me up, man.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Like, go ask questions.
Or maybe just not try to force.
Or don't do it. Yeah.
Don't force it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Even with me, and I'm black, like I don't force it. Like sometimes I'm just like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. And I'm black. Like,
so,
I'm like, no, not gonna do that.
I'm
not
sorry.
Gonna
go
it's also South. Like, I don't like it when they're gonna, like, the way he did it. I'm sorry, the way they did it. It was very like you play on the stereotypes of like what a thug character would be. And it's like, that's not innovative, that's not creative, and it doesn't help me connect to this story or that character at all.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's
just
very
off-putting, I think, to a lot of people, like those different types of dialogue choices.
Again, especially when you know the creator and you know the person that wrote that dialogue, because then you can hear their voice as they were writing it.
Riding down the street in my 6'4".
Exactly.
You don't talk like that, Billy. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna pop a cap.
Yeah. Hey, homie. What are you doing?
What's up, dog?
I've seen that.
Why it gotta be like that, yo?
I've seen that before too, where people start off with the slang and then it'll jump to like etiquette. Like, if you're gonna do it, just do it. Like, don't start off with the slang and all of a sudden that character is speaking eloquently, pronouncing all of their words and saying everything. Like,
you went from community college to Harvard.
Yeah, exactly. Like in two panels, and that's another thing too, like with dialogue writing. And I've like in a lot of the dialogue coaching that I've done, I've told people, study conversations of individuals, because you have all of us up here. Each and every one of us talk differently. And the crazy part is myself, Salt and Pepper, we're all from North Carolina.
We're killing
but you can't tell I'm from, like, a lot of people, when I tell them I'm from North Carolina, they're like, no, you aren't, until they hear me say North Carolina. And then they're like, yes, you are, because there's a certain way that we say it. So, but each one of us talks differently, And like you were saying, you were with the one book, you kept hearing the writer because the writer was writing in his voice instead of writing in the character's voice. And then when they tried to write in the character's voice, they still wrote it in their voice. They still wrote it in their voice. You gotta study conversations when you're doing dialogue. Like, just sit there and watch people. Or I mean now,
dude, I'm such a big people watcher.
Yeah.
And it's so helpful as a writer.
It really is.
Literally sit there and listen to the people's like, dude, when I'm in a restaurant, back when you could be within 10 feet of people, like we would there's times I would just be sitting there listening, and my wife would be asking me questions, and I'm like, dude, sorry, I'm in these people's conversation.
See, it works. See, that works for writers. It does not work for artists, because then you're staring at people, and it's just not.
You're like, what face?
How would I capture that facial expression?
Oh, look at how their leg moves like this, and how they're standing, and it's just you're just that weird person that's staring at people.
Only thing you need is to take your drawing pad.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to have a little sketch pad, but then it's just almost more weird.
Yeah. What are you doing? I'm drawing.
Why are you drawing me?
Human study.
Yeah.
I'm a comic book artist.
Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, that does help. Like I've told people that, like, listen to the conversations in the group. You have friends, do that. Listen to them. Watch movies. Listen. Shit. Watch Friends. Watch Friends. Because like even in Friends, everybody has their own quirks.
Or talk to people.
Yeah, talk to people.
Which sounds crazy, but like, how many writers have you come across that are like super reclusive and hang out in their basement way too much? And so when they write, like that's where that robotic voice comes from. Really, it's just, you can tell these people, they never talk to other people.
Yeah, it's all in text messages or
right,
anything like that.
Yeah, and that's don't. Wow.
Yeah, see, Dan understands.
Yeah. Even as part as acting, they even have you like study somebody.
Still creepy with a drawing. I was just trying to give them hope, Dan.
That's why I said I don't do it. That's why you have to study from.
See your eyes going up.
Up and down and up and down. Oh, that's crazy. But yeah,
no.
But even
move back the way you were a second ago.
Yeah.
Just go back.
Can you arch your arm up?
Yeah.
Can you put your hand back on the counter now?
Next thing you know, you got mace in your face.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh man.
Like, dang, baby, why you gotta move? Almost had it.
And Lena's here tonight too. She said she totally agrees with what we're talking about. I appreciate it, Lena. Lena's, she was on the last show. She's part of the new freshman class that's coming in. That's gonna be, bringing forth in the indie comics world. So I hope a lot of them are listening, to help with that dialogue. So I'm glad she dropped in, because we have some cool people here. Here's another tip from Dan. Dan says, wear sunglasses. Dan. There you go.
Dan's got
that's even more freaky. Sunglasses.
Why are you in a dark restaurant wearing sunglasses? Drawing pad.
Yeah, I seen a movie like that once. It didn't turn out too good.
It didn't. It didn't. See, Dan's about to get people arrested. Hey, what are you doing? I'm an artist. We don't care. Click.
That's always the excuse. Oh, I'm an artist.
I'm an artist. Why are you writing?
We're eccentric.
Yeah, it's legal.
Do all sorts of craziness.
But like y'all was saying about studying people, how Salt was saying
Max?
studying people.
Mm-hmm.
They even suggest that to people who are trying to be like an actor or an actress. They have them to like pick someone and like study their movement, and how they speak and how they dialogue and stuff like that. So I've actually seen them actually do that.
Yeah,
and they'll go. They'll go even as far as going out. Like if they're playing a teacher, they'll go to the school, follow a teacher. See what they do, see how they talk, see how they teach. Same thing with firemen, cop. They do ride along with the police and stuff like that. All that stuff, it helps. And I'm not saying as a writer you have to do a ride along, but if you're writing a cop, meet a cop, see what a lot of the information is. Like, I mean, we're in the golden age of information right now. Jump on the internet, find out what an actual code is for a murder and what an actual code is for a bank robbery. So you're not like just saying stuff and it doesn't make sense, And from Quinn, say you all make great points. I think it's important to bring a sense of authenticity to your writing. Exactly. And studying people, looking at everything, staring at people, I like your lips.
Yeah, after you stare at them, then you talk to them.
Yeah. Then you talk to them.
Stop.
Why are they holding you up against the wall?
Mhm.
I was just studying for my story.
I'm an artist.
Oh, that is how a hand clenches against the throat. Thank you.
Right.
I was
Hold
starting to
Hold that pose.
I've been working on this for 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
All right.
hands are real hard to draw.
I usually hide them. I do the cloth around the hand. I didn't want to draw it.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yes, Dan, it is super creepy to be in sunglasses in the dark room. Dark room. Let me see. Someone who is a writer and acts. I have done that. See, she acts. She's a writer and she's done it. She's studied people. She's followed people. So these are just tips, to help you all out become better dialogue writers. Because
Because some of y'all need some work.
some of y'all need it. Yeah, for real. And it's not a knock.
No, man. I
bro.
I had to do a show last night, and I told them, I was like, I don't think I'm anything special. I just I do a little bit extra work. And the only extra work I do is I say it out loud before I put it on the paper.
Yeah, like I say it out loud, and I'll try to. Another thing that helps me too is like I try to study similar actions and similar events. Like if two people are fighting, and that's one thing that I usually don't do, because I've seen that in some comics too, where people are fighting and they're talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm a trained fighter through the military, and I took martial arts class before the military. I never had. I'm kicking your ass. I've never done that in a fight.
I'm bringing the thunder.
I've never done that, but like I get it with certain things, like something.
But you're thinking it.
Yeah, I'm thinking it. And I.
So you caption it.
Yeah,
maybe you should say it out loud.
Yeah, and I get it with some things like.
God, that'd be so funny.
like with power moves and stuff like that.
This hurt my hand a little bit. Ow.
Ow, yeah, ow, like I've seen that in some books. Now, like I said, I get it for power moves. Like if you want to do, because with that I do bring that manga flair into my comics. So especially mainly in Temple High, like I don't do it in the others, but Temple High is kind of meant to have that feel. So I'll bring when they do their super move, they might say it, but like they're not going to be talking in the middle of swinging, because you're breathing, you're trying to keep your rhythm. You start talking, you're going to get out of breath, you're going to start missing something, you're going to get knocked out. Like that's why boxers don't talk. they breathe. Hey. Quick breaths. That's it. They're not like, I'm gonna hit you with a right. they're not doing that.
Why are you telling me before you do it?
Because you're not gonna dodge it. Bristol Media Group is here. What's going on? Welcome to the show. Britt's not here, and I'm trying not to mess up.
So now, as an example,
mm-hmm.
do you have any examples of bad writing that you've written, or and that you would change, and what did you change it to, and why?
I would say everything that I've written prior to 2016.
He bumped it up a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna push it back a little farther. I'm like, I've been doing it the right way now. Everything prior to 2016, I would say I would change. Honestly, one of the books that I released in 2016, I would definitely. I went back and changed the dialogue in that. Even in Cypher Team issue 1, I went back and changed the way I did a lot of things because I felt robotic. And I was reading a book from one of my friends, which I could probably show you his books. His books over there. I have all 3 of them. He has 3 more coming out. He's a novel writer. His name is William Hayashi. And he was one of the first people that told me that. He was like, hey, read it out loud to yourself. And I was like, duh, like, why didn't I? But you don't really think about it. And that's the reason why I always try to tell people that when they ask me, how do you do your writing? I write it and then I read it out loud to myself, and and then I added the part of getting into the character because it helps if your character has an accent or a speech impediment, which we'll expound on a little later because a lot of people are afraid of adding those things too, but it's real in real life, so.
It also helps when you explain like what type of voice that person has. Like Susie, she's from New Orleans, so she has like a little, so that voice automatically goes in your head when you hear Susie's name.
Yeah.
That helps also because I had actually written a short story and someone read it and they was like, I'm so sorry. When I read it, every character I heard just your voice. I'm like, no, I even explained the type of voice they had in this short story. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
but yeah, just hearing that, like you said, just hearing that describing what their voice sounds like,
Mhm.
that helps
It
with
helps.
each character, and then you'll get into
It
the
helps
story that way too.
because I know in Topo High I have a character who's French, so she has a French accent.
Yeah.
And I actually had to go out and research this because I was like, I don't want it to be
Yeah.
messed up to where the French come like you fucked up our language. Like like I didn't want them to be mad at me. So I went and researched like how would you write the French language? So I found this website where a lot of novelists go on and they talk to each other about how to do certain things. So it was like certain stuff that you leave out instead of ER is like air. So you pretty much spell like AIR. And so I started adding a lot of that into her dialogue. And so I had people come back and was like, now every time I see her name or she's mentioned, I automatically think of that French accent. And I'm like, that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to know her automatically as soon as you see her, or see her name or whatever. So Matt says, something I'm interested in and currently researching is how to express different emotions in dialogue. For example, sarcasm. Is it fonts, italics? Talk about different emotions and how they are lettered. That's actually a good thing. I guess what I do with different whenever I letter and stuff with different like sarcasm and stuff, I will kind of use italics or bold to kind of drive that thing home or drive that punchline home. I will kind of use that. But I guess one of the best things is like if you don't understand sarcasm, like find that friend who's like hella sarcastic. See, we have them Scorpio. Who? And they're like, and just like listen to them and listen to like the punchlines because even with the sarcasm, like a lot of people don't think about it. Even with the dialogue, like when you're doing jokes and comedy, which because you were a stand-up comedian, so you have your lead in and then your punchline. So I think in the same is kind of like that.
You just hit it. It's pretty much just it's word expressions, and that's something that I didn't even do in the first 2 issues of Tilt. Like I didn't go back and do expressions on the words with the italics and the bold, because as the writer, you just read it the way you meant it. But our books of the last few times now, when you go and you'll see those bold italicized words, and that's really so the reader, it forces that mentally out of their subconscious.
It's an emphasis on that word.
Yeah, and
you have to
and
have
that just drives the way that you read the sentences. But so much of this goes back to the whole thing about establishing who your characters are, their mentality and stuff like that. Because with Tilt, pretty much anytime you read something he's saying out loud, it's with some grain of sarcasm, and it's because that's how he was established early on. Is he's very sarcastic.
Yeah, I caught that too when I was reading it. I was like, this dude is just the way he was introed, like in the first page. I'm like, oh, he's gonna be those guys. I think I'm gonna like him. Yeah. So, if anyone, Matt, I think you'll probably, especially since you were a stand-up comedian and stuff like that. I think once you
take those
stand-up
jokes that you do anyway, and then pick out which words you express when you normally say those jokes, and those would be the words that you italicize and bold.
Exactly. That's it right there on the head. Yeah. So it'll be that's it right there. Thank you, Salt.
So Salt, you were a stand-up comedian?
No, not Salt. Matt Cargill, who writes.
Oh.
He writes the comic. He writes.
I was like, from Salt, I'm not getting comedian at all. I was like,
I would get fired real quick.
Yeah. So, Matt Cargill, who writes the comic about the comic. So I can't wait to read that actually. So, but you can scream on an attack scale. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So that anime.
Yeah,
I said it.
This way, anime.
It's so loud all the time.
It is pretty loud.
It is constantly loud.
Anime.
Like you could turn your volume down to 2, and it still sounds
loud.
like screaming.
Oh yeah.
And then you got to watch out with certain parts because the loud just sounds like you're watching something else.
Oh, for sure.
So and I've had that happen to me before. Like,
I've made that mistake.
I'm watching something, and people are like, are you watching porn in your chew? Like, no, it's anime.
It'll turn around.
They were like,
anime.
same
Calm down.
Same thing.
Same thing. I bet
Dragon Ball Double D.
Tentacle monsters. Well, right now there's a tentacle monster. Like
You just happened to listen at the wrong time.
yeah, exactly. I do watch anime though. I watch it in Japanese too, which a lot of people are like blasphemy. But
You seem like you would.
I do.
Like you seem like if you were to watch anime, that you would be that guy. That's like, oh, no, only in the original.
Yeah, exactly. What's this dubbed? No,
Only original manuscripts for me.
exactly. Only the original letters. I want to see the kanji. Reading out loud is a must. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we're trying to drive that home because I still keep seeing books coming across the review table where I'm like,
Yeah.
you're still not getting like, don't be. And I don't know, maybe I don't know if it's embarrassment. Like you don't want people to hear you or you don't want people to know what it is you're writing.
Who cares? You're a writer and you're writing a story.
That's the same thing for artists that are scared to draw, but you don't have to show anybody.
Yeah.
Like you crumple it up and throw it away until you get better at it or you hone it.
Don't write in a public place.
Yeah, don't go to Starbucks.
Or do it and still read out loud because it's funnier that way.
Exactly. And then it can come up to you. Are you a writer? Yes, I am. Here's a coffee. You know, they might look out for you. That's the stuff.
Or say no and it really trips them out.
No, don't do that.
With your sunglasses on.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. No.
Staring them down.
Oh, I gotta wait till I stop laughing before I drink. Okay.
My bad.
Everybody give him a break. Hold on.
Chill out, Punk.
Yeah, I don't need to choke on there. Like,
We don't mean to push it.
Yeah.
Push it real good.
Here, I got one word: long coat.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it right there. Longcoat. Is he here tonight? Nope, Longcoat's not here tonight. I didn't see him.
I still feel like I need to apologize to Longcoat.
You need to apologize, Long. I already did. You need to apologize, Long. Let me see. Facial expressions help with this. Yes. This is where you can lean into a solid artist. Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right there. Because it's nothing more bland like, and I think with that, that's the reason why, like, for me, like, I try to touch up my dialogue in the script. So like I'll write the script out and just get the stuff out of my head. And then I've told people, they ask me my process. I'm like, I write, edit, we sketch, I edit, we ink, I edit, we color, I edit, I letter, I edit, then I edit, and then it's done. You know, and the reason why I do that is because after the script, I like to read everything over and I'm like, okay, how will this character say it? Especially when I'm reading it out loud. Because I could be like, okay, that's not them. That's not how they would say it. Or this just straight up sounds robotic. But it also gives that artist, whenever that artist can go back and look at it. And I think that's another reason why I'm detailed in my panel descriptions. When the artist can go back and look at it and they can be like, oh, okay. Especially if they've already like drawn issue 1 and issue 2 and they've gotten used to that character. They will know, okay, this is the expression that they're going to have with that. And even with me lettering, I'm able to change it. So if like the expression is a little different, I can say, okay, let me dial it back. Maybe they're not as excited because the expression isn't as, you know, like maybe I had them yelling, but the artist didn't draw them that way, you know, so I'll dial it back a little bit. How does the art team down here, how do y'all approach that? That's a good thing for y'all. How do y'all?
So, okay. We've gone through. So I've only done with us only have done a couple books, right? The thing that helped a lot when we did Welcome to Everville was Aaron gave me for his dad. He said, he reminds me of this actor, his voice, and kind of this kind of feel to him. And that kind of gives you a different feeling of how he maybe like, okay, I can hear his voice, but of course he's not going to act like that. Like if that actor was going to play that character, that kind of helps out too, because then I can hear his voice reading the lines and it's like, is he sarcastic? Yes, he's sarcastic. You know, like it's good to talk to your writer and kind of feel what they're feeling for that character in those ways. Like you said, being really descriptive and kind of giving that, like, you know, I could see this character playing him and he's more serious, but he's a more serious version of that guy. You know, so it's stuff like that. And, you know, are the characters hyper? Is he scared? Is he a timid kid at first? Is he trying to, you know, like with Paradigm, he's learning. He doesn't know who he is as a person. You know, he's going through a lot of stuff. So he's kind of sad and depressed, kind of going through stuff, but pretending to be starting to become a hero and that kind of journey that he's going on. And that's kind of that kind of feel you kind of have to go with. So it's but having those kind of talks with them is super important. Like,
Sweet.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Assault.
Yeah.
What would you like to add of that as the writer?
Yeah, I was just thinking like it's the same thing with everyone that we've worked with, is having that open dialogue, no pun intended, with the creative team, being able to talk back and forth about notes and like your thoughts on stuff. Because even like you just said, you know, there's times where you have your characters screaming and maybe the artist doesn't interpret it the same way. So you pull it back a little bit. You know, I do the same thing. But yeah, I mean, having a solid artist that is good with facial expressions helps a whole lot. And, you know, going back to Matthew's comment earlier, you know, he's got Joe on his books, which Joe is great with facial expressions, and he's good when he understands a character and likes that character. He's really good with making a reflection on your script with that character. So just having those connections, I think, is what separates it from just being stagnant.
Yeah, no, I will say the other conundrum a lot of early writers have is the fact that you try to put too much dialogue per panel.
Yes.
And if you want to sell sarcasm in that panel, you cannot put sarcasm in that panel, seriousness in that panel, and then something else in that panel. I can only express one emotion per panel.
Yep.
If that's what you want to sell, then you're either going to make more panels or you're going to have to figure out a way of what the storytelling aspect is going to be.
Yep.
You know, like, am I going to have 7-8 panels so I can have all these different expressions and things happening and moment to moment? And where is it? Are we going to let the artist like draw it out to where it's really, you know, one panel at a time, where he's like pulling a knife out, but he's got his hand slowly going. The next panel, he's grabbing it, and then the last panel, he's pulling it out. You know, like, do you want that kind of drama, or do you want just one of showing what happened, him pulling out a knife or something, or, you know, dialogue to go along with it and expressions? So
that's that mood, the mooding of dialogue, which a lot of people don't grasp either. Like the mooding, like you were just saying, like they'll write something and then they'll have like in that one chat, that one speech balloon, you know, the character's joking and they're serious. So they're joking. And like you said, for the artist, it's like, okay, which expression do you want?
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense, you know. I've seen that too, where people will go back and forth. And I have done that a little bit myself, but I've done it more along the lines, if you're gonna do that, here's my gift, I guess. If you're gonna do that, pick which one is gonna be more. So don't do it 50-50. Or if you're gonna have them go from sad to happy, you know, you're trying to express the, you know, 7 emotions of death before they die, and you're trying to put it all in one speech balloon. You know, have it not 50-50 or 25-25-25. Have it where one is more than the other. So if they're being serious, you know, and they, you know, say a little joke, serious needs to be 90%, the joke needs to be 10%. So that when the artist draws it, they have the serious face, and then they just do a quip. Or like you know, Pepper was saying, what Pepper was saying, like, do another panel, you know, kind of giving a side eye, and then they say that joke, you know, they're serious, and then they're, you know, another panel. That's another thing that I've noticed too. A lot of people are afraid of panels, you know. They're either afraid of panels or they put way too many panels, right? You know.
Yes, they do.
So it's like one of the two has to give. Like if you're afraid of panels and you're only doing like 3 panels per page and you got like 2 lines of dialogue per panel, that's really not gonna work. You know, you can do more, but if you got like, you try to do the max, and I think with some people they can do max 12 panels on a page. I know my artist has done 9 at one point, and
like 1960s and 70s style.
Yeah, you know,
that many panels.
Well, some they could do it as 16, do 4 blocks.
Yeah,
across,
do that
old Frank Miller style stuff. But I mean, you know, he knows how to write a story, and he knows how to tell a story, and he could, if you could do it like that.
Yep. And you have to the more panels you go, the less you have to say. And I know that probably sounds weird, and a lot of people don't get that, but if you're gonna have anything over 5 panels, you need to start chopping down that dialogue. Yeah. Like someone told me, say less, you know, with more, and you can do it. Like I literally have thesaurus on my phone. I actually have 2 thesaurus books too. So when I get to a point, I'm like, okay, what's the quickest how can I say this 7-word, 8-word sentence with 3 words and still convey what it is I'm trying to convey? It's a lot of studying, dictionary.
Sometimes
People.
sometimes it makes the whole point better if you take out all the words. And for us, like Tilt 3, the last final page is super dramatic. And originally I had dialogue on there. Not even dialogue, it was more of a caption. But then I took it off and I was like, you know what, this drives this drama home so much better. So I'm just going to leave it out. And it's, as a writer, it's being okay chopping your own work.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because you can doesn't mean you have to.
Right.
Like you don't have to write words in every panel.
Exactly.
If you got a really good artist and it's telling a very good story, then it's like I told Aaron, when we first got, when I first started reading back comics, there was that Lee Weeks book that All the Way Down or something like that, and it was basically like an one where Batman was chasing I guess the character was like the Road Runner, but it was kind of the Joker. It was kind of like that kind of Looney Tunes thing when Batman, whatever. Almost the whole book has no dialogue, and I didn't realize it until I was halfway through it, and I was like, "Holy crap!" I'm halfway through this comic, and I just realized I haven't read a single word. Like he drew it so well, the storytelling artistically, and then that kind of opened my eyes to like, that's what I want to be able to draw people in that way, and but for writers too, it's one of those things too, where it's just because you can write, a thesaurus worth of words in here and do some awesome stuff doesn't mean it always needs to be. And art's the same way too. Like those panels do not have to be so detailed so overdone. You just need to push the story. You know what I'm saying?
Get it done, Cat.
Just like we're saying, yep, G.I. Joe number 21 has no dialogue too.
Yeah. See?
That was the story with Snake Eyes. Yeah, I think it was following Snake Eyes, which makes sense.
He doesn't talk.
He doesn't talk. So that makes a lot of sense. Yep. It also helps too. Was he wearing his mask in that one? Yeah, I think he had his own get up in that. So that helps too. But yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things for some writers is because I know I want to do it to test myself also. Is to write a comic with no dialogue at all,
Right.
And I'll probably do it one day with one of my titles or something. Let me see. Max, he said, character development is key. Once you know who the personality of the character, you know what they will say in any given situation. And that's right. Yeah. Because I know, like for myself, I actually have and I don't know if y'all do this too. I actually have a character profile thing that I fill out. So when I create a character, I get them in my head, and then I have two different types of character profiles. One of them is like a short 2-page one, so I can just give it to the artist and say, this is that character, this is a little bit of their likes, their dislikes, their past, their height, all these different things, and it's just a 2-page one. And then for myself, when I'm building them, I literally have like this 14-page character profile that I can do, and it goes through everything. It goes through their fears, what brought that fear on. It goes to their family, who they hate in their family, who they like in their family. Who was the one that would beat them up, their bullies. It goes through everything so that I can get that full feel for that character. And then they start talking to me until I put them on paper. So that kind of happens to me as a writer. Like my characters talk to me. It's weird. Yeah. So, but
you just hang out with them.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like even still like, and that's the reason why I like the long one, because after a while, like once I start getting to like page 6, it's like they start telling me certain things. And I know it sounds weird, but as the creators, like they start telling me certain things.
I like because I do the same exact thing. So I like when I'm going through with a story and stuff changes that. Yeah. My private little 14-pager, and then I do something in the story that changes that character, and I have to go back in and look at those 14 pages and see what things it changes. Because I'm a big proponent of motivation's key for every character. What is it that motivates this character to be who they are?
Exactly, they come alive, and you're right. It's funny you say that because I actually just did that this week. Because somebody was telling me that they like my character Shayala from Triple High, And I was explaining to them, and I went to go send them the profile, like the short profile of them. And then I looked at it, I'm like, oh crap. She changed in the book. Just in issue 1, she changed from the way I wrote in the profile, because I wrote her like she was this timidly meek type of girl. But then in the book, she's like meek, but I did a little bit more research because she's amphibious and reptilian type powers and stuff like that. I started looking at psychology books and learned about, the lizard brain and stuff like that, fight or flight and everything. So I was like, okay, I want to bring that in and kind of make her more snake-like or more attack-like if she feels pushed into a corner. And so in the comic, I made her do that. And so when I looked at the profile, I'm like, oh yeah, she's not even that same person anymore.
Right.
Now I gotta change that because
erase
someone, yeah, exactly, like erase that, because now she's someone different. Like she came to life based off of the small little building blocks that I added. Then she kind of molded and became her own person. You've been quiet, Scorpio. You got anything to add?
Oh no, I'm just listening because I actually have a character in my head that I kind of want to. I'm gonna start putting on paper, just kind of like building. And to me, when you all are doing that, it sounds like you're creating their origin too of the comic book. So that's why I'm just sitting here taking mental note, because I literally have a character. I have to research the name. I have a name, but I have to research the name.
That means it's gonna change.
Yeah, most
That happens to
definitely.
me every time. Like I'm like, what's the name again? And it changes.
It's gonna change, but I kind of want a character that's gonna get your attention, and that's kind of like a anti-villain.
Oh, okay.
So something like that. So yeah, I'm just here taking note on that part. I'll chime in. Trust me.
So what you're telling us is Scorpio Chronicles comics is coming soon?
Possibly.
Dun dun dun.
Okay.
Possibly. It's the start. It's a start because of
Book 1, long coat.
Yeah. Never that. No. No. It's a whole different type of thing. It's kind of course, things that are going on now in 2020 kind of got my attention and grasp that. It's like, okay, what if you build something based on what's going on now? But
I'll say this: as crap as this year been, it's been hella like creative.
Because you've been shut in, you have no choice but to create.
Yeah, like I just had so many different ideas, like even
Me too.
business and marketing and
yeah,
that sort. It's been. I'm like, if people didn't take advantage of this freaking being locked in your walls,
yeah.
Like, I don't know.
All those side hustles that you were talking about, I actually did one of them and made money doing it. So I'm just like, you have no choice but to be creative and actually sit down and read books and be like, oh, what about this and that and that? Because you're forced to sit down and just
exactly,
sit down and just
Gotta
think.
do something.
Yeah,
Gotta
exactly.
do something.
Check it out, Aaron. We're not the only ones. Quinn says her characters talk to her also, so she understands. I'm glad, because I know I've told people that before, and they look at me like, should we get you committed? Like, no, we're writers. That happens. Ask Stephen King. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's why he locks it. Like he locks himself away. I don't know if y'all ever read On Writing by Stephen King, like his book. But yeah, he does. Yep, he locks himself away. He does.
Yeah, I mean,
seclusion and writes his book.
It's why I never get bored. I never get truly bored, because at any time, any of those stories, I can just go spend time in any of those worlds and just like take one little piece of it and let me dissect this for a little while.
Yep.
And it keeps you entertained.
It does. It really does.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's the thing too. Like whenever you're doing this and you're in your writing, because obviously dialogue is writing, but I think a lot of people do comics to do comics. So it's like then you'll ask them about their character and then they can't explain their character. Am I getting on the wrong subject right now? People are gonna drop out again.
Here and I have been talking about this for 4 or 5 weeks straight now.
We have. And now we got up here. So
this is the time when people need to chime in, because I've been seeing some comics I've literally looked at comics and been like, yeah, I'm not reviewing that. There you go. It just you're just doing it just to do it. That gets old.
Or they just think that they can throw something out because it's a stepping stone. But dude, we can tell that the passion's not there. And I feel like if I can tell that, then I'm sure the big 2 companies you're trying to force yourself into can tell that.
exactly.
Yeah,
Stay true to your
just
characters. Yep.
just look at it and say you did this overnight. You thought it was going to be in Marvel, did you?
Exactly.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's definitely your creativity. It really is. But like one thing my mom always told me is like your first impression is the lasting impression.
Oh,
That's the reason why I try to do that with my comics. Like my issue ones, I want them to pull you in. And there's a reason why I kind of, for me, like I add certain things that like I've had somebody not like angry, but they were more like happy angry. They were like, damn, now I got to go get issue 2 because of the way that you.
Yeah. See, I try to tell people to watch out for that though too, because that's one of the things that will stifle you from even putting anything out. Is you put so much pressure on that. First impression is so important, and it is, but you do have to put something out there to get past it, to learn, or else you're never gonna get past it, and you're gonna be stuck on page 1 forever.
But then there's the advantage of stuff like this now too, where people they're starting to know you as a creator more than they are your first book. You know, we've all talked about our first books and how we don't even. Yeah, for me, I don't even really talk about it. But yeah, all of us have to get past that kind of stuff. And when we get to get on here and just talk and people get to know who we are as people, I mean, those are the people that we see coming back to our Kickstarters and being a lot more supportive because they're actually hearing from the people that are making these comics.
Yeah. You know, and that makes sense, but that makes sense.
You can call me Pepper.
Pepper.
I know you want to. Well, because I was just about to make a joke about, like all these people in the comments that probably don't know Matt and I. Yeah. Right now, our first impression was, oh, it's salt and pepper.
They're going to see Catalyst and be like, oh, it's salt and pepper. Okay, so both of these gentlemen are, I think I said it at the beginning, but they are the writer and artist for Catalyst Comics, the co-owners, right? Owner and co-owners, both.
We're co-owners.
Yep. So of Catalyst. So yeah, you know, they got some dope books. Check them out. Definitely check them out. But yeah, like I get what you're saying about that, about getting it out there. And honestly, what I did, and I think maybe I kind of set myself up for, I'm not going to say for victory, I'll say for progression, because I still had steps to go. But my first book, like Saul was saying, my first book is literally packed away. Like it's gone. Like I think I sold 5 of those. And the other 20 are locked away because they were so horrible. I learned like they're so bad. Like the dialogue was bad.
But you did it.
But I did it.
Yeah.
And it got you to go, what mistakes did I make? How do I do better? And how do I grow? You know, you just had the passion behind it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's
not to mention you did this before there were truly resources for indie comics creator. Because even when we started, as far as resources for indie comics creators and stuff like this really hasn't been a thing for that long.
It really hasn't.
You know, really getting to hear from creators and stuff. When we started, we had no idea who to listen to, who to talk to. And I mean, you were the same way. So
yeah, exactly. And I get that, Joe. Like, and for me, like my first book, and it was like,
or Joe.
Look at you now, Joe.
Joe. Yeah, look at you now,
Joe. Aren't you supposed to be outside shoveling all that snow, though?
But I get what he said. Like, my first book, like seriously, when I brought it out, and the reason why I did it, because I used the title that really didn't connect to the main tissue of the Sovereign Comics universe. So when it released, and I was showing all my other characters, everybody was like, "Does this connect?" I'm like, "Well, it connects like 600 years in the future." You know, so it kind of gave me that. I'm like, Cypher Team is the one you want to check out. That's the flagship. And I think
so you were like, oh, I got 600 years to figure this out.
Exactly. You know, I came out with that. I got all the perks. Like, you know, I met like Marcus Williams at this con that I was at, this MechaCon in Detroit. I met another guy. I can't think of his name is escaping me right now, but he did art for Marvel and DC and stuff like that, and like some of the bigger books. You know, and I met certain people who were in the game. And they gave me tips and pointers and stuff like that. I met Keith and Jones there. You know, he gave me tips and pointers.
Oh, dude, we were the same way. Matt and I met through somebody that used to work for Marvel and DC. And that's how all of it kind of got birthed, was having that person there that you could just ask questions. And then once you start doing it, and then they're like, okay, well, you guys go do it then.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that helped. That helped me. And I was like, I'm so glad this isn't my flagship.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things too. I always compare it to like music, and people are like, oh, who's this hot new band? Or like, this is the song that they get famous off of, but you didn't know they had 4 albums beforehand.
Yeah, you didn't hear all
that they put it out, and they've been
had signed
they've been working at
contract. Yeah, awful contract with the indie album company.
Yeah.
They got option for 3 albums, so
And then
they put out a greatest hits album for their 3rd album after they only had 2, just so they could fulfill the 3 albums.
You must have been watching Unsung.
No, I'm just Matt and I both come from a music background, so like our doing all that stuff, you see that, you hear those horror stories all the time, because indie comics is the exact same way. You get a contract from some of these companies, and you wouldn't even understand why people would sign it, but people do.
Wow.
And it's like it is the funny part you're talking about, like with music and stuff, because I've noticed with some of the bands, and I mainly see this with rock bands more than I see like with indie rappers and stuff. But I've seen rock bands, like they'll have that first album or that second album before they made it big, and then they'll re-release that album with all of the stuff that they have that they've learned, and it sounds so much better. Because I kind of did that with that book. Like once I started, that's why the reason why I said earlier, anything but 2016 and before, I'm changing it, because that book was released in 2016. and then that next year I was like, I'm not publishing anything else. I studied, learned what I can learn, asked my friend William Hayashi for advice, because his dialogue and his novels is amazing, and got that advice. And then in 2017, I re-released that book with those changes, with the thick old big black border going around the edge. Those first time indie mistakes, because we don't know how to really.
Oh, you ain't gotta tell me.
Do the page. So I had like all the indie mistakes, and it's great. Like you make mistakes, but the thing is, learn from those mistakes. Like, don't let it be like book 7 and you're still doing the same thing. Like,
let the people see growth, because people connect with that too.
Yeah.
They connect if they got in the first book, and then you put something else out, and they can look at it and see that there's been a change and there's been advancement. You're going to see them keep coming back.
Yep. Because I know somebody who actually brought that first one, the horrible one with the tiny font. Because I was looking everywhere, like you said, and it makes sense. Like, when I was doing this in 2016, because I think really the indie comic outlets and people giving you the advice and answering your questions only really kicked off like the last year and a half, 2 years.
For sure.
So like in 2016 there was nothing. So I was looking up like, okay, what's the font size for a comic?
4.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6, and you see some people like, oh, you want it between 4.5 and 10, and I'm like, what?
That's a lot of difference.
I'm like looking at all of that, and
I thought it was 12-point Times New Roman.
Exactly. And I've seen that. Luckily I didn't do that. Like I actually went and found
Comic Sans, right?
Sometimes,
right? I thought that was it. It has it in the name.
I actually went out and found a font that wasn't Comic Sans, because I was going to use that, and luckily for me, somebody was like, "No," and it was my friend.
Hold your hand out.
He was like,
"No,
do not use that font. Don't use that." And so I ended up finding one that worked, but it was still tiny, And I had, like I said, I had a thick, big black.
And for new people, guys, you can get so many free fonts that are commercially, you can use them commercially for your comics. And you can even download that Comic Life 3 was the first app I ever had that we lettered Paradigm and Tilt 1 and Tilt 2 with, before I decided to actually try and learn how to letter. But I mean, it pretty much did it for you. You import your script, and then you can just drag it over and turn it into a dialogue bubble. So, I mean, there's no excuse anymore for saying that you just don't have resources, because they're everywhere now.
Especially with software like Clip Studio Paint. Like literally you can make your book from the beginning. I mean, you can't write it in Clip Studio Paint, but you can sketch it, ink it, color it, letter it, finalize it, and send those finals, because that's what I do. Send those finals to printer, or put it in the, get it ready for, like, I think even now you can save it and get, if you make webtoons, they have an option now where you can save it webtoon format and send it to webtoons. So I mean, there's so many different things to do out there, so many outlets now, because it's growing. But in the beginning, when it was the Wild West, it was hard. When everybody was riding around in long coats
with tumbleweeds. Yeah.
it was hard. It was hard then,
That was still when they were medium coats.
Yeah, they were medium.
That's how long ago it was.
I was like, the dark days of 2015, 2014.
Bad.
Oh gosh.
I know there's probably people in the chat that remember that who were making comics during that time, and you probably know exactly what we're talking about. It was horrible.
Hello. I don't know how to letter.
Can anybody help? Crickets.
Yeah.
And that's usually what it was. You'll ask and no one would be there. No one can help.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
now we got these shows like this where we're going to give you pointers and help you out and tell you what to and not to do.
I'll tell you the best piece of advice that anybody's given me in my entire time doing comics. Pirateship.com.
Have you used it yet?
Yes, we did.
God, dude.
Yeah, we just used it.
Hey,
It's
there you go.
I feel like it's wrong. I feel like when you're using it, it's like there's no way that I'm allowed to do this and save $4 or $5 off of a package to California.
Yeah, like I sent a package to the UK and it was like £2, and I think I paid I think it was like 18 or 19 bucks.
Yeah, so you save like $8-9 on the bigger the packages, the savings are even bigger.
Bigger. And the crazy part too, I don't know if y'all noticed this yet with Pirate Ship. And yeah, if you're still out there and you're looking for a ship, stop doing media mail because they're opening those things.
Dude, seriously, people stop doing. Yeah. Matt, do you still? Never mind. Let's not call people out.
But so I tell Pirate Ship.
He got a shipment in the other day.
I still use media mail. Calm down.
Stop it. Oh my God.
Pirate Ship. Go to Pirate Ship. I will send you the link when we get out of here. Go to Pirate Ship. I promise you. Because even if, and this is the crazy part, if it's heavier, they make it the fastest shipping. So it goes priority. So they get there in 2 days if it's heavier.
See, I wish I would have known that today because I had 2 heavy ones that I had to ship off today. I wish I would have known that today.
No, I did get one from overseas the other day from Kickstarter, and it was in one of them paper packages, the thin paper ones with 4 books in it. Overseas. The thin cardboard like envelope.
Yeah.
With 4 books in it.
Don't do that, people. Just stop.
Yeah.
Just
it kind of hurt my feelings.
If anything,
I swear though, if they were not bagged and boarded in there, I probably would have just
burned it.
I've actually had that happen with a Kickstarter where someone sent me books and they weren't bagged and boarded, and they used the priority mail envelope.
No.
Yeah. So I will say this: if your first comic, if you're making,
I love how this is about dialogue.
Yeah, I know we're going all over the place now.
This is why you don't bring us on. Salt and pepper.
Hey, we started to throw salt.
But knowledge for the masses. But like I will say this: if your first comic you're making mistakes, ask about shipping at least. Like figure out your shipping, because that's the first impression that you don't. Because when that person sent me those books like that, and they had another Kickstarter and they asked me to back, I didn't back.
And rewards, guys. Like, my God, none of us. I don't want to see anybody just completely lose all their money having to pay for rewards and shipping. So just reach out to somebody. Unless we really don't like you, then keep using the same shipping you've always been using.
Yeah, make a life-size teddy bear that ships with your comic book. By all means, ship it. Yeah, but see how well that works. See how much money that's going to cost you.
That sounds personal. Did someone do that?
I think they did.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
did someone do? Oh.
We'll talk after.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no, we are. Yeah, because I hadn't thought about that book in a while.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, folks, I would say stop using media mail.
Okay.
I know people are like, and it's great. The deal at media mail is great, but they're starting to open that stuff now, because even though you think that you might not be doing that much in the indie comic scene, trust me, it's seen. Like, people are noticing all these Sovereign Comics packages and Catalyst Comics packages and Millennial Comics packages and all these indie comic people are noticing these things. They see them. The post office is seeing, so they're like, oh, comic.
When you have comics as one of the words in your business name, they know it's not media mail.
Yeah, they know off top. So like, oh, this is a comic book, I'm gonna open it. And that's one of the reasons why I don't use media mail, because my poly mailer says Sovereign Comics.
But dude, pirate shipping will get you so close to that same price of media mail. I mean, so close.
So close. It will. And I haven't like bought a shipping label from them, and I'll be like, oh man, that's too expensive. Like everyone, I'm like, I'll go and look at what
I've got the top $10 on there. And that's going from North Carolina and California.
And the only reason why I topped it because I sent packages to the UK, and that was it. That's the only reason why. So I'm about to see.
And it integrates with your WooCommerce or any of your website shopping stuff too, guys. I'm telling you, that's the greatest tip I've been given.
Yep, and you're welcome. And we're giving it again. We're spreading the wealth because that's what we do. We tell people things that will help them. I mean, you don't have to follow it. It's just a suggestion. But I don't
think anyone that we're telling probably will, because nobody listens when we're trying to show you how to save money. But
yep, I'm frugal.
Tier and I feel like nobody ever listens to us. We have this conversation too.
That's not true.
I know you're a Scorpio, and your first comment is going to be badass.
And he's going to ship it media mail.
I hate you. No,
I know what they said, I think I'm just. But you know what? I'm here. It's media mail. It's gone. Don't worry about it.
Like $3.
You're gonna get that. You're gonna get that.
It's only $2.80. $2.80. Come on.
You're gonna get that message. They're gonna be like, "Hey, you owe us $7."
That happened. Look, that happened to somebody one time. I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Like it doesn't happen a lot, but why even take the chance?
Yeah,
take the chance? Especially with your company, like because they do too, like I've actually talked to my post office here because they kind of when you ship a lot of books, they get to know who you are.
Yeah.
So I've talked to them here, and I was like, "What about media mail?" They was like, "I don't recommend it." They was like, "Mainly because you're a business." They were like, "Because of two reasons." They was like, "It might go through, and no one will check it." They were like, "However, if it does get checked, they're like, you run the chance of them sending you the bill." Or them sending your customer the bill. Now, can you imagine your customer having to pay for that?
Now, hold on. Now, comic book. Now, because I do the eBay thing. Now, comic books, I don't send media mail.
Oh yeah, so then you're doing it correctly.
I don't. No. It's mostly DVDs.
Shops that send their stuff media mail.
Yeah, like if it's DVDs, school books, stuff like that. But there's some stores that send it media mail. There's some.
Oh no, I don't do that. No. Oh no.
See, I've gotten a few that weren't bagged, but whoa, and parts of the comic were bent, which annoyed me. The first one I sent, I used the priority mail envelope and hated using them. I get it. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do in that first one. Like, I get that. Like, I really do. The fact is, though, Greg, you hated it and you adjusted to it. So, and that's the thing. Seeing what you had to do and then adjusting to it. Like, I get my polys from Sticker Mule. And they make some thick polys, like they do. They're gonna last. They're gonna make it through the weather. I kind of accidentally tested the durability of one of their poly mailers, and it wasn't on purpose. But the person who gave me their address missed a digit, and they were living in the UK, right?
Oh God!
So this package went to Denver, came back to the Colorado Springs, went back to Denver, then went to California, then went back to Denver, came back to Colorado Springs. Went all the way back to Denver, to California, then went across the ocean, then came back because they didn't know where it was supposed to go. So this thing was going everywhere. And when I got it, it only had scuff marks on it. And I'm like, okay, I'm sticking with you.
You should have taken a picture and sent it to Sticker Mule and been like, this is, I'm going to post this on social media and tag you guys. So
this is a sponsor me video.
Yeah, exactly. I should have used it. You're absolutely right. But it was crazy, and I got it back and I'm like, oh, and then I looked at it, I'm like, oh, they left, it looks like they left a digit out because it was an APO address. So I asked them, and I changed it, put it back, and then I sent it off. Same polymail. Well, did I change it? Nope, I changed polymailers because I didn't want to, but then I sent it back out. But I was looking at it, I was like, dang, man, that's durable. And since then, I've been getting my polymailers from them. Amazon sells photo mailers, which I put my comics in, pretty cheap. Like I got like 100 photo mailers for, I think it was like $30 or $40. So I mean, there's ways to protect your books. Just show people that you care as much. Let me see. Hold on. Matthew says, I'm listening. Use ups and ship in a Walmart bag. Yeah. There you go. See, that's that comedian right there.
I'm glad somebody's finally listening to us.
Right, man.
No. A Walmart bag.
Yep.
Matthew, if you send me the comic and it comes into my mailbox wrapped up in a Walmart bag.
I kind of won't be mad at it.
I won't, because
I think it would be funny.
I'll be mad at
it. But now since he said it, I will.
That would be like troll level
for real,
like 1,000
for real. It really would be. It'd be crazy. Let's see. So Greg says, yes, Sticker Mill is awesome. I could technically pick stuff up from there. Oh, man, lucky you. I wish I could pick stuff up from there. Can you pick something up for me, Greg?
Yeah.
I'll pay you shipping. Like if you use pirate ship, I'll pay you shipping.
Only if you use pirate ship, I'll pay your shipping. Otherwise, I don't know you. Who?
Yeah, who? Use the regular mail. Who?
Sticker Mule media mail, right?
Yeah. Fine, I'll use Target. You know, those bags might actually last a little longer. They might make it through the suck.
Yeah.
Target has some tough bags. I will give you that.
Yeah,
they do. Out of everybody, they do have some. Pretty...
I want mainstream market, not that great value.
That's right. Don't give me that great value.
I want that great value bag. It's the hottest garbage.
Great value comics.
Great value comics.
You know.
Their slogan is "They're comics." Oh. That's it. They're comics.
You know what you have to do now?
Here's comics.
You know what
technically
comics. You know what you have to do now, Matt? Figure out how you can also like Matt Cargill. Oh, yeah. Figure out how you can get poly mailers and make them look like a great value bag.
Oh, that would be neat.
That'd be so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That would be neat.
Don't use the Walmart logo, you'll get sued.
But don't get sued though.
Yeah. Don't make it your own thing. But that
Walhart. Just change one letter, you're fine.
Walhart.
Yeah, Walhart. Yep. And make it your own thing and just
Mostest values or something.
Yeah.
But then you got to turn around and put that story in your comic. So then so I just gave somebody that, hey, go with that, man. I just gave you that idea. Then it'd be funny. Then I get up like, wait a second. It's a poly mailer. Oh, okay. It's not
a This doesn't feel like the cheap trash from Walmart.
Oh man. So dialogue question. We're gonna
back to the topic.
Dialogue. Anybody have any questions about dialogue that's out there in Facebook world? Because that's where we're getting all the hits from.
Yeah, man, somebody had wrote one about cuss words.
Oh, where's it? Hold on.
Yeah, from Dan.
From Dan.
That's actually about what we're talking about.
We'll
probably get back to it.
Cuss words.
Dan's still here 20 minutes later.
I know. Are you still here, Dan? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Dan.
But cuss words and dialogue, I use it. I mean,
I bleep mine out.
Yeah, it's just the way that you do them. Like I base it based off the rating of my book. So if my book is rated to a level where it's high, like Sovereign Black books are going to be straight up cursing, like it's going to be the full word. But like Cypher Team, words like hell and damn, and I think I even said shit once, and that's it. But like harsher words, the harsher words, the ones they bleep out.
No, do tell us.
We're still listening.
Asshole, bastard, the ones they bleep out in cuss words. I mean, in, rap music and stuff like that. They put laser sounds and.
Oh, you mean like back when you used to buy the store versions at Walmart?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like who's breaking glass? Who's breaking windows? But but I guess it would depend.
Just don't have your whole dialogue just straight cuss words.
Yeah.
Kind of don't just let it all out. I mean, kind of save a little bit here or there. Don't do it all at once, because if you like a professional cusser, they can just go. I'm just like, oh, someone's mad.
It's off-putting.
Yeah, he was like, okay, this is enough. Yeah.
It's like you have to know more than 4-letter words.
Yeah. Some of them not all 4 letters.
You have to.
Exactly.
Well, you could use those, just not as much.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's when they're getting fancy, though.
Oh, yeah.
See, I bleep ours out. I Q-bird ours because I think it's funnier for some stuff. Because sometimes your brain's going to put in the worst possible word, even if it's not what I intended in my original script. And so that's a little bit of humor for me, knowing that readers are out there reading this and filling in their own words. Sometimes I even just put 3 little letters symbols in there So I know they didn't catch that, and they're still putting in whatever word pops in their head. But yeah, for me, it's more of it's almost like an homage thing to classic comics, where I just bleep them out. It's habitual.
There's nothing wrong with that. I guess I will say, base it off your style,
Mm-hmm.
who you are as a person, and who that character is.
Right.
That part matters too. If that character is the type that curses like a sailor, they can curse like a sailor. But like Scorpio was saying, some things like you don't
overdo it.
Asshole.
Yeah. See, now do you feel with indie comics that people are almost more expecting it?
I do.
To be raw and kind of uncensored and just kind of
I do. There's that
great value instead of a little bit more upscale.
Great value.
What is it with you with great value now?
Nothing. I mean, we could Family Dollar. I don't care, man.
General Dollar version. There we go.
But it goes back to the conversation we had last time after we kind of got off the air about how many books come across you guys' desk to review, and the reality of how many books in indie comics are good. The ratio of it's not great. So there's something to be said there.
Yeah. Like, I think a lot of people do go overboard with the cursing, but I do think a lot of people come to indie because that's the image that indie has.
Yeah.
It's going to be more. Even if you look at indie music, indie movies sometimes. Well, actually,
they use different, stories that most mainstream stuff wouldn't.
Like they veer away from.
Wouldn't talk about, right?
So they do expect us to be a little more raw, but I do think that
I just want it to be good.
Yeah, just still make it good. Still make it good because it's your image, it's your product, it's your company, you're the publisher, you're the small press publisher of your comics, so you make it good. Just like Joe said here, which he already said, and I put that up. Publisher problems. These are things you got.
Every time, like we have a meeting with Joe. If you guys don't know, he's our artist on Tilt, and every time we have a meeting with him, he's always like, Matt and I will start complaining about something, and he'll be like, "See, that's why I don't want to be a publisher."
He's like, "This is why I just draw the pictures."
Right. It's things you got to think about as a publisher. Like for me, the one thing I love about it though is because it's my company. Like I can do what I want. I don't have that limelight over me. Like it's not like I'm creating characters for Marvel or DC where I'll create something and they're like, "Oh, we can't have that," or we would rather this way. I don't have to worry about that. I can do whatever I want. So that's the love about it. But there are the things you do have to think about. What's your image as a publisher? You got to stick to that. It's still got to market and brand your company. And we're not going to get too in depth in that because there's an amazing podcast by Beards and Comics that you could. The episode. There's an episode up there. You can go check it out. It talks about all that stuff.
I can literally say that because I'm sorry, y'all. I have yet to listen to a podcast on.
You gotta.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
hold on. How many Scorpio Chronicles YouTube videos have you guys watched?
Like one or two. But you know what? That's 100 to 200% more than you've listened to.
Even if I said half, it was. You
could have at least lied to me.
For the next year, we'll start trading off. I'll watch one episode. You listen.
Okay. No problem.
Here's on tomorrow's episode as well. So
Jerry from E4 is my company, and I do what I want to. Exactly. That's what I say every time I start a story. My company, do what the hell I want.
Right.
That's true.
I say that when I have arguments with myself.
What's that?
I say that same thing to myself when I have arguments with myself about what we're doing.
Like, you're not going to do that. People are going to like you.
It's my company. I can do what I want.
I do what I want.
Like I never have to find a job drawing comics. I'm just like, Aaron, what do you got that you want me to draw? It's like, okay, cool. Like why I have to search? He can write whatever. We could find somebody to draw it. Like we could find another writer. I could draw it if I like it. Like it's the best part about doing it. It's your stuff.
Like, dang, Aaron, I don't like this dialogue. I don't want to draw this one.
All right.
Oh, I get first dibs on all of it. We've already discussed this. That's number one. Like, Matt, you want to draw this? No, that's cool. It's not my style.
That's what I do with my.
It's being smart about it though. Like I'm not just going to take it just because I can. I know where my limitations are. If I know there's another cool artist that could do it better, I want to see that too. So
that's an interesting question because for me, thought bubbles are dead, right?
I hate thought bubbles with a passion. I don't
see them use that much anymore.
Yeah, they like I hate it. I've always hated the old style where it's like this weird cloud. So if I'm lettering someone's comment and they want thought bubbles, I'll figure out something that fits their story to make a thought bubble.
Like, throws in a caption.
Yeah, and then sometimes I do like in my stories I use captions.
It's a caption bubble.
Yeah. I just hate it when they have the thought bubbles and the captions all mixed up, and I'm like, okay, he's thinking what and saying what
exactly,
and I'm getting it mixed up. And I'm just like, okay, where do I start? That's confusing.
So we do that with Tilt because he's a character that talks to the audience, but we make it known when he's switching. Like in the first issue, he's walking down the street and he forgot to switch over to captions, so he's still talking out loud. So somebody's walking by him, just like, who the heck is he talking to? And then he's like, hey guys, and then he switches over to captions. He's like, my bad, guys. When I go out in public, I try to keep it like this.
I remember that. I was like, okay, that's freaking hilarious. That was a funny one. See, Joe, first captions too. Like that's how I am. Like I tried to use them, and I even tried to do the old cloud thing, and I'm just sitting there looking at it. I'm like, I hate this shit. Like I
can't make them good anymore.
No. I don't like them at all. So like I use captions unless it's something simple that I might throw it in there. But like I said, I'll design it where it doesn't look like the old.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I'll do like the way that I'll do it, like the way that I do mine to make it different than the regular speech balloon, because in Clip Studio, and when I first started using it, I didn't know that you can actually make the speech balloons look like the regular speech balloons. I didn't know which tool that was, so I will always use the oval one, the ellipse one, and that's what I noticed. A lot of people use the ellipse ones. So there's another one, folks, for those who use Clip Studio for your lettering. It's called curved balloon. That's the one you can make the balloon look like a regular comic book, balloon. So when I figured it out, I'm like, oh, okay. And then when I came to a point where I need to use a thought bubble, I'm like, I'm not going to use that cloud shit. Like, no. Yeah. So I use the ellipse instead. So now people kind of get that running and they see that. I'm like, oh, okay. When we see an ellipse, we know it's a thought. When we see regular comic speech balloon, then we know they're talking. And when I do use them, that's what I use, because I just, like you said, they're dead and they just don't look right. So I wanted to, if I'm going to use it, I want to make it my own and spice it up a little bit.
Right.
Do you guys think the action no's are needed in the comic? The action noise?
The whip.
Like whip and stuff like that?
It depends on what the story is, but I have fun with it.
Yeah.
I think it's fun, especially if you get the artist to do the words. Mm-hmm. That's when it really pops.
Yep.
And you know what? That's actually a good idea, because you can finally say, "Oh, that's how you spell that sound."
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know how to certain sound. You're like, I don't know how to spell that, but
you can have fun with it too. Because when I was doing, I'm working on Paradigm 2. I've got him like soldering, one of the characters soldering some wires, and it's having him going, and then smoke coming from it. You know what I'm saying? Like using the words as, just like little sound effects like that is just as important. I think it adds a little character to it.
Yeah, it does.
You don't have to overdo it. It can be something small and simple and still fun.
Gets to do this too as a writer. When you are using the sound effects, sometimes you'll either make up a sound effect or just one you're not aware of, and you're like, "Wait, how do you spell that sound effect?"
Yeah, exactly. I've done that.
That's fun for me.
Like I've done that. It's like I was lettering Delta Dogs issue 13, and there was a part where the gym, the floor mops that they use to wipe up the sweat on the basketball court. Mm-hmm. Like the character threw that, and I'm like, clack, 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 clack,
clack, fluck-clack, F's, P's.
I'm sitting there just.
How do I want to spell that?
Yeah.
No, click clack. No, and you're going through it as a writer. I'm going through all of it, and as a letter, I do that, and like. I've written sometimes where I've where I was sitting places and I'll be to that part in the script. and I'm like,
Yeah.
Waboom. No. People are like, what is he doing?
I mean, like you almost do need it though, because have you ever read a book where they're not in there? And it doesn't have any impact. There's no feeling to it. It's like I see something moving, but those in your head you can make your own sound, but having something there is it's important.
I've even sometimes, like, when I do have the part, like the piece that's from the comic and I have it in real, and this is crazy, like I've thrown it just this
to hear the sound,
just to see what it sounded like.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think about it, I'm like, okay, so 3Ks, no.
Yeah, those consonants, man, they'll get you.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's fun. One thing I do, because like you were mentioning, Joe said he's literally asked Aaron how to spell his first, and it makes sense. Like when you see them, like, how do you spell this? But another thing that I do too, to not go overboard with certain things, like if I want to put emphasis on something, like in Cypher Team issue 1, one of the characters was walking into a room, and she was actually walking on a part that's like, marble floor, then it goes to the storeroom. So I was like, I want people to know that this part of the floor is like different from the other one, so it's not all carpet. So I did the whole tack or the tap of her foot, but I didn't use the special effect type of way. I used the actual just the words. And there's what they call them, cat whiskers, that you can, I think that's actually a name for it. You can put outside the word. So it's like the 3 lines, and then it has the action and then 3 lines. And I use that for the smaller things, so that it, I don't have a bunch of them everywhere, because sometimes I don't like to put too much based on the title. But it really depends on the title. But like Temple High, I think I went nuts. And it was like, it was just the regular special effects versions. And I just went through. I wanted it to be fun. So if I come out with a comedy one, like how y'all have, I'm gonna go haywire. Like there's a character I have named Slaughter the Clown, and it's funny because it's a lowercase s and a large L, so it looks like it says laughter, but it's really slaughter. And I got there, if I forget the show, it was like you can't spell slaughter without laughter. Then that character popped in my head. So like in his book, I'm gonna go nuts. Like I'm gonna go freaking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So
yep, there you go.
For ambient sound, yep, and that's what I use it for, and it works. It's easier for that instead of me having like and I use like the bigger ones for when it's the big sounds, So
yeah, some curcums.
Yeah, big sound words.
The wabangs, the clacks, all those things.
I mean, you can't have like pew 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 being like huge. It just doesn't work like that. If you got some,
you got to use like no.
Yeah.
Brat. Yeah.
Yeah. See, you need. There's so many different ways to do it, but there's a right way and a wrong way still, though. Yeah. Like making those words small to make that sound be small, So yeah,
exactly. All
the O's.
Yep. Well, all the O's, and you're right. You don't want to do that. Like if it's an explosion, you don't want to do a tiny boom. Yeah. Like one thing I've really been falling in love with some panels and stuff like that, where I won't use dialogue, because this is an action, but I'll use the sound effect and I will cover that panel with it, to draw that in. And there's ways you can do it, just take the letters, then use the outline thing, scrunch it in, cut it out, and there you go. Then you got the lines, so you can still see the art, and this art's not getting blocked out. But any other questions out there for anyone? Because if not, we'll keep talking. Or we'll probably. Britt's probably like, the show's going on too long. Anybody getting?
No, he tries to be such a good steward of people's time, and we're over here like, nah.
What time? Nah. We'll edit. I won't make it too long, Britt. But yeah, so I guess we'll end it there. This was an awesome show. We started off with dialogue, then we went to shipping, came back to dialogue. We went to first impressions.
We brought it full circle.
Yeah, all over the place. So there's some good information for this one. And I hope you all enjoyed it. And I hope you all are going to catch us next week.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna have an awesome show for that too.
I thought you guys were done for the year.
No, we are. Yeah, you're right. We're done for the year. This is the last show. So we'll see
Oh,
you in
no.
January. Yeah. And then, of course, the first show I think we're doing is the dispatching firms. So
Was the what?
So broadcast for the dispatch firm will be the first show. So we'll all be back
Awesome.
in January.
Do we know?
Later. Thanks for dropping in, Joe.
Dan?
Thanks for dropping in, Dan, and everybody else that dropped in. We will be back in January. Britt will be rejoining us. And you're going to see all four of us again. And it's going to be another wild show. We might have alcohol that time, so it's going to be even crazier. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It was a good time.
We drinking it up and talking some junk. So
That's as usual.
that's how we do.
Thank
you. We don't need drinks for that.
No,
he's about to hit the button and go off live, and we're going to talk more junk.
Exactly. We got something cool coming for that too. No problem, Jerry. Thank you for dropping in, man. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for dropping in. Thank you for the questions. We really appreciate it. Y'all made it fun. This was great.
Salt and pepper out.
Salt and pepper.
Pepper, Scorpio here. We out. Yeah. That's not a curse word. No, there we go. Take it easy.
Oh, God.